Okay, welcome to Nikki Nights. I'm going to have to start this off with an apology to my guest, Sarah Lowe, today, because here she is. And I just, I have to start this off with an apology because it kept clicking off and clicking on, and then it told me, asked me for my password so it could reboot my computer because it detected a problem.
That's okay. I've been sitting here. I'm so excited to meet you.
So excited to meet you too. How are ya?
I'm okay. I'm okay. This is my mid-morning in between teaching children homeschooling.
How's that going?
Oh, it's just everything you'd hoped for in
Yeah.
life.
How many kids do you have?
Two. Yeah, and it's first grade and kinder. So like luckily I'm smart enough to be able to handle that, but also it's super hands-on. So it's a little like,
I
yeah,
can't imagine.
yeah.
Well, I'm sending you all the good vibes because I don't know. I have a goddaughter, and I think that might be as close as I'll get to children.
I just had this conversation last night with a friend where I was like, in this world, we're either parents or we're children. That's really it. Because once you become a parent, it's very much that. And once, but you're forever a child. And I am really jealous. I mean, I love my kids, of course, but like people who decide not to have children are, there's something there.
Well, you still seem to have a little kid in you, though, because I was doing a little research on the old internet, and there was a performance of you doing, was it Dick in a Box?
Uh, yeah. Yeah.
That I sent it to a friend immediately, and I was like, I'm so excited to talk to her about like all of her projects. I was like, well, look at this video of her doing a Dick in a Box. It's genius. How did that even come about? Because I have to know. I love that skit.
So, I live in Las Vegas, and so it's a lot of crazy performers out here. I guess no different than New York or LA, I'm sure. But it was a cabaret, and I always say, like, I'm not the strongest singer. Like I can carry a tune, but so I'm always looking for ridiculous comedic things to do. And so my girlfriend and I were like, oh, they're doing a funny song tonight. We should do Clit in a Box and see if that but then it was like, it's too much. Let's just call it Dick in a Box, and it's funny enough on its own.
It was perfect. So
Yeah.
thank you. It made my day, probably my week. Um, and so, but you are a choreographer as well. I mean, you do a lot of things, Miss Lowe.
Yeah. Sure. I feel like I I don't know what box to check because there's just always something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in order to stay working, I feel like I've just kind of said yes to things along the way that turn into something else, that you're like, okay, now we're here,
I totally get that. I'm very much in that same boat. It's like I started with musicals, and I'm like, no, now I want to host, and now I want to write, now I want to produce. And it's like, so yeah, once all these different things, start coming about, you kind of have to want to put your hand in there and see what it's like.
And I think right now too, specifically, we're so like, what else is there for us, as performers? And yeah, I mean, especially for somebody like you who's done it, who has all of this, this resume, doing, like, you understand producing, you understand directing, like you understand some of these things that are like, why not,
Well, it was interesting when I got Hairspray. I found myself on set, and like obviously on set, but I found myself watching. I'm a quick thinker too. I found myself on set watching all the behind the scenes because that to me was the most fascinating part, like how everything moved and
Yeah.
all the what everybody's job entailed. And I'd be lying if I said I know the full job of a producer or these positions, but I have to find out more because I think, it's just, I used to have a singing coach growing up, Patty, and she used to say to me, I'm going to teach you how to sing in your head voice and your chest voice. She goes, because you can't be a one trick pony. So as I go through my career, all I hear is her voice in my head. Don't be a one trick pony.
Yeah, I feel the same way because yes, as a choreographer, I assisted the main choreographer for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and spent so much time on the set their final season, and was the same way. Like there were so many days where I just got to kind of be part of the video village and watch and kind of observe, and I found myself observing more and actually being more like, I'm really happy not being on that side. Like there's so much to being on that side of the camera that being on this side was really fascinating.
Yeah.
And I also like know, like watching it was like, I don't want to be a director. That's a lot of work. Like I
I,
don't have that.
I look at George Clooney and I'm like, I don't know how you do it. Okay, you like direct, like you act in it, you do everything. I'm like, what else do you do? Do you do craft services? Do you make? I'm like, how do you do this, sir? Like, it is so much just to play like the leading man, but then to be the director, and my hat is off to him and him and Clint Eastwood, and my God, I couldn't imagine.
There's a certain switch in people's brains that some people have it and I don't. And like Rachel Bloom, who is the star, we actually are friends and know each other from before all that. So I would watch her and just be like, you're really like, she would switch to her writer brain, she'd switch to her producer brain, her actor brain, and it was just like, I don't have that frequency, man. I don't operate up there. But wow, more power to you.
Well, how did you get into the business?
I started because my family was in the business. So I always make jokes that like, it's too bad they weren't like, doctors or lawyers, because maybe I wouldn't be sitting twiddling my thumbs right now. But both on my mother's side, her mom and sisters were like a radio trio in New York and had, had their own radio show and then a vaudeville act that they would tour doing. And then on my dad's side, his mom was Ruby Keeler, who was the kind of Busby Berkeley 1930s and 40s, 42nd Street and all those old timey movies. And so that happened. And then when my dad was a kid, he was drafted. I think he enlisted actually, went to war. And then, but my mom grew up in New York, so she just went straight to being a chorus dancer. And then they brought my grandmother out of retirement. My parents met doing No No Nanette. And then and then I grew up backstage. So I don't know anything else.
That's so cool though.
It is. It's a fun history. My husband always likes to say, like, I'm third generation showbiz. And then my mom's like, oh, I'm sure it's past that. But what we know is just, and that's it. Like, right. I just know showbiz. So I don't know what else to do with myself.
Well, it's got to be so nice though to have people in your family who get you and get what you do, because I'm the only one in my family who is in the entertainment business, that's ever been in the entertainment business. So I don't know. Sometimes I think they look at me like I have three heads. They're like, "What? Who are you? Where did you come from?" Because I just, all of my cousins were football players. I come from a very big, like, football family. My grandfather was in the Navy, so it was like, and then all of a sudden I was over here doing musicals. So I was kind of the oddball out. But it's interesting to see now how my family is like, okay, they're learning the business with me as I go.
Yeah. I do feel like there's definitely a benefit to it, right? They were always really supportive. Of course, they wanted me to go to college, but neither one of them went to college. So I don't even, I'm like, they were like, you need to go to school. And I was like, okay, how do I get there? And they were like, tests. And I was like, yeah, okay, where, when, how? And I'm like, my friends are taking PSAT. Should I take those? And they were like, yes. You know what I mean? So I didn't have that push in the opposite way. But if I said, okay, I think I'm going to move to New York and just audition, they were like, great, and yeah, they were always extremely supportive in that respect, and also understood that I would have moments of being like, doing a show in Nevada and being like, okay, there's an audition in New York. feel like go to, my mom would say, just buy the ticket. You know, if you book it, then you're, you know, it'll counteract either way, but you'll be disappointed if you don't go and at least try. Where I know that that's different for other people, you know?
Yeah, there are some parents out there. I mean, I always thank God. I'm like, thank goodness my parents, when I told them I want to act and sing, they weren't like, what? Like a lot of parents be like, no, 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 we're not going
Yeah.
to do this. We're going to go to college. And my parents told me, you have to go to college. I said, okay. But I was thinking of studying theater, of course, and a minor in criminal justice or theology. I don't know. It was all over. I was all over. I just wanted to sing. I
Yeah.
really just wanted to play Olivia Benson on TV. Let's just be real.
Or the musical version of Olivia Benson. Like that's where we need to head next, right?
Law and Order SVU, the musical. I
Yeah.
see it. I see it. As crazy as it sounds, I think it could work.
Oh yeah.
But, you know, growing up, when I finally told my parents, like, no, this is serious, and I saw Hairspray, and I was like, I really want to do that. My mom was like, okay, we think you could actually do it, to go. And like, she went and took me on the auditions. And so it was awesome to have that support. And I think it totally made the world a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, at that point, right, it's up to them. Because you say, I want to go do this, and they can say no and not take you, or they can say yes and take you. And then by them saying yes, it already gives you more confidence going into that room, that you know that you have somebody believing in you.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about my mother. We were at the Hairspray dance callbacks in Baltimore, and when we didn't know it was a dance audition when I got there. And they said, "Oh, guys, get ready to dance." And my mom's face dropped. And I heard her make a phone call. I didn't know who she was talking to. And all of a sudden, I went in for my dance audition. I came out. Apparently, she had called my father and said, "Carl, it's the dance auditions." My father was like, "Oh boy, oh no, 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 no." And my mom's like, "This is where I think this is where we're gonna lose it." And because they called me a bull in a china shop. Like I took my Achilles tendon twice freshman year from falling downstairs. Please, like I was a klutz. So my mom was like, "I think this might be it," and I was inside dancing, and then all of a sudden, Zach Woodley, our choreographer, came out, and he said, "Who's Nikki's mom?" And my mom was like, "Oh no."
Oh no.
She said, "Over here," and he goes, "She's an amazing dancer." My mom was like, "Nikki, you said Nikki, right?" And he was like, "Yes." So that's my history with dance. Was I never danced before Hairspray, but I mean, my mom was just as shocked as I was that we got it done.
So you never like danced at home, or because you're really good.
Oh gosh, no, I'll tell you my extent on dance. I took ballet when I was like 5.
Yeah.
That was it.
That was it.
That was it. I tried. I'll tell you this. I always auditioned for like the middle school musicals, and I wanted to dance more than anything. It was the one thing that I wanted to do, and I just could never pick it up for some reason in middle school. And then I got to high school, and we did shows where they weren't so. I played characters that weren't so dance centric, like Mrs. Lovett and Sweeney Todd, and I kind of got away with it.
Amazing.
So dance for me, no, it was never my thing. But something happened that day in that audition. I don't know. It was when Zach started dancing, my feet started going, and I don't know. The music of Hairspray, it moves me for some
Yeah.
reason. It just, you can't help. But I've always had rhythm though, and I've always been really flexible. Like as a kid, so weird. I used to take my legs and like do full splits over my head, like really weird.
So it's always just been in you. It just needed somebody like Zach to bring it out.
Yes. And then we got on set, and the rest
Is literally history, which you'll have forever. It's so cool.
I know. Even if I never, even if I never figure out dance again, I'll at least have that and be like, I
Yeah.
did once. That's it.
Yeah. And also I do think that that's sometimes the mark of a great choreographer, somebody who can see that there's something happening there and just be able to kind of like, you know, pull it out of you, or find things that look great. You know, Catherine Catherine Burns, who was on the choreographer for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, you know, was dealing with, there were musical theater actors in the show, but a lot of times you get just straight up comedians who aren't dancers. Right. And so finding ways to like keep them looking good and keeping them comfortable and what can we do? And so she was always really good at that as well. And so sometimes I loved watching, you know, people like, so, cause some people they just don't have that rhythm in there. So it's fun to try to watch people step touch where you're like, oh, okay. Well, let's work on something else.
Box step.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, and I'll tell you, oh gosh, I would think on the set of Hairspray we had some incredible choreographers, and it does make the world a difference. But now, even I find myself in my backyard during the quarantine, going to my old buddy Twitch, Stephen Boss, and just doing him and Allison's, you know, IGTV dance classes that they do. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's so great. It's so great. The other one that I really like, well, they have like really good dance classes, and his name is coming to me, and why can't I think of it? I'll tell you in a second. It'll give me a second. It's still early. I need my coffee, but just anything on, well, and even Debbie Allen did a dance, like a couple of dance classes, and I'll just pop on because they're just fun. And if we're stuck here, you might as well try to enjoy yourself, right?
Totally. And are your kids into dance as well?
Well, kind of. Like my son Keeler is, after my grandma Ruby Keeler, he's definitely into theater. He is a very big fan of yours. He really is. He loves the movie. He also, of course, loves Zac Efron, who he watches in Greatest Showman, and just he always is like, he's always dancing with a hat. And then of course Hamilton came out, so now he's constantly dancing around to Hamilton. But at first I was like, I don't know if this kid has any rhythm. And now he has, like, there's rhythm there, but he is very stiff. And then my youngest son is not, I think he'd actually be really good, but he's just kind of, you know, he doesn't want to, one kid likes musicals, so he's not going to like that right now. You know, his older
brother likes sports or something. Yeah,
sure, of course. And I can't even put them in a freaking dance class right now, so I'm just kind of letting them, and they don't want to learn from mom, so I'm just kind of letting them ride with it.
And I take it you'd be cool with them going into the business ever if they wanted to, because
I mean, what am I gonna do, right?
You're kind of stuck.
I mean, we're kind of stuck. Keeler's already done. He's done an episode. So my husband works with Penn and Teller, and they have that TV show Fool Us, and they had a magic trick they were doing with that. They needed a young kid, and so my son, so he's already done that, and he thinks he's a star because he was on that show. And then, rightfully so. And then a friend of mine wrote a short film, which is just a beautiful piece, and hired my mom and my son to be in it. And so now we have this like little time capsule of, and he did well, but as we left the set that day, he was like, I said, how do you feel? And he said, well, theater acting is hard, but film acting is hardest. Oh. And I was like, he's not wrong, because when you're on stage, you're done, right?
Yeah.
But film, we just got to keep doing it over and over, and sometimes it's not your fault. And that's what we kept telling him. Oh, it's not your fault. We just have to shoot it again.
That exact thing to somebody the other day, because I've been writing my book, and twice 2 chapters just deleted themselves. Just poof, gone.
No.
Yes. So the first time I got up and I threw a hissy fit. And I did, and I stormed around the backyard and I screamed and I yelled. The second time I was like, no, I got up. Sarah, I got up from my chair. I went, and I sat down and I wrote it all again. My friend was like, how did you not freak out? She goes, but then again, you must be used to like giving this big thing and then somebody going, do it again. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, so that's what I related it to. It was like, okay, I just wrote these 2 awesome chapters, got everything out, felt so great. And then And again.
And back to one. Okay.
And back to one, exactly.
Yeah. Ooh. So how far are you into your book?
I am about 130 pages deep.
Ooh.
So
That,
God, God knows once an editor gets their hands on it, it's, that's gonna
yeah.
be.
Are you writing about you or are you writing? Yes, you are.
Yes,
Okay.
this is all about my life.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I got a new laptop and I was like, let me just start writing at the beginning of the quarantine. I was like, they say write from what you know, and I guess my life's been pretty interesting. So
Yeah.
let me write about it. So yeah.
I love it. There's so many different perspectives out there, and everybody. It's like David Sedaris says, like nobody tells your story better than you. Your perspective and my perspective on things are going to be completely different. But we're fascinated by people's stories because they're unique to them, and especially coming out and having the journey that you've had. Like, yes, you can inspire other people to understand that what that can be like. I just think it's so great. I think it's so important. I, I know I'll read it.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I have to say, it's totally different from acting or singing because people are like, well, you express yourself that way, so it must. And I'm like, no, this is literally soul bearing. Like, this is my own words, everything I've been through. So I said, I think I'm more nervous for this book to come out than any movie I've ever done to come out.
Oh, for sure. Because, and I'll say two things. Like the first time I ever took an improv class, I like on the way to our first, which is actually where I met Amy, which is our mutual dear friend. I on the way to the theater was like, I don't have to go. I don't have, like, I was really talking myself out of my level 1 performance because for the first time ever, it wasn't scripted words. Whatever I did on stage was going to be me. And I was so like, what if it's not funny? What if I'm not good? And, you just can there's so much self-doubt that just comes out when it's your own material. And I just finished taking a writing class similarly, where I was like, okay, I'm going to take this writing class because I have some things I want to write. I want to do like bits and I want to do comedy stuff. And then it was basically writing what you know and like shared experience. And you're like, oh, this is hurtful. This is painful. Like this hurts almost to get some of this stuff out.
Well, I think for me, what people with this book, I think everybody thinks they know the Hairspray journey, and it's been as exciting as it looks. But I think there's been a lot of stuff going on in the background, serious stuff that people are going to be surprised to find out. And hopefully, if they can just take something from that, like if they just have said, well, she just keeps going, so I'm just going to keep going, then that's all I can hope for from this book.
Absolutely. And again, it's, Hollywood is so presentational, right? So we all know the exciting version and the this, and unless it's like really dark, it doesn't really come up until much later, and all that, if at all.
Yeah.
So and as somebody who grew up in the business, understanding a lot of that, when I meet friends whose parents don't have any idea of what this is, there's such an importance in telling the story of like what that journey is for somebody who didn't know what they were getting into, who kind of, who, and then who also, like, we all face demons. And then when you go to put yourself out there on screen, on stage, whatever, you're asking for acceptance and approval. Even if you don't think you are, that's what you are doing. And so even something as basic as the dance captain giving you notes can feel like an attack,
Yeah. Yeah. And, for me, I think it was interesting after Hairspray, we were lucky enough to be nominated for some awards. But for me, I won a solo dance award from the city of Chicago. I forget where it was from, but it was from some place in Chicago, and it was just on my dancing. And I remember that being like the greatest thing in the world to me. I called everybody up on the dance team. I was like, guys, guess what? Like, you'll never believe it. But it's those little things, and I talk about it in my book, and it's those little things along my journey that have just meant so much to me. And, and I've also gotten to see the world. Where's one place that dance has taken you, or that this business has taken you, that's really just blown your mind or meant a lot to you?
Oh my God. I don't even, that's such a good question that I have like no really good answer to. Cause I never did a cruise ship and I never did a tour. The first tour I ever did was like a tiny West Coast tour where we were like California, Arizona, Nevada, and done. But I feel like the 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 milestones along the way for me with dance was like, my grandmother is a phenomenal tap dancer. My mother, who's not my grandmother's daughter, but well, she's a different grandmother's daughter, but my mom is a phenomenal tap dancer. And I think I always just thought I was going to be good at it. And so I didn't really study it. And then I turned 18 and was like, wait, I'm not just good at it, And I was asked to do a benefit where I was going to learn my grandma Ruby's tap from 42nd Street. And so she would be, they would do like the Natalie Cole, Nat King Cole thing where they would project her and I would learn it. And that for me was I worked so hard to get those steps and to get that routine down and followed her mannerisms and tried to get all of that. And that to me was like, that was a moment for me, as you said, like for you winning that dance award was like, I had always watched her and I was just flown to San Francisco, but it was still really cool. And I was put up in a hotel and I was asked to do this thing. And then I got applause just for being her granddaughter. And I know the applause were because I worked hard, but it just felt like such a cool moment. And it was very much my own, at a certain point, it was like, the audience didn't matter. The people didn't matter. I got to kind of have this experience with my grandmother and she had already passed, but it just felt like it just was really special.
That's amazing. And my grandma used to teach me around the living room. She's the first one who taught me how to jitterbug.
Oh, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
But do you ever feel a little bit of extra added pressure in the business because coming from such a successful family in the industry?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I felt for the longest time that if I didn't make it on Broadway, that I was just straight up a failure. So none of the steps along the way, none of the, nothing I did at that point was going to be as good. And that, and then even just like booking little things here and there, was like, oh, this is great. Oh, but it's not this. I'm not a lead. And I guess I also never really aspired for that. I loved theater so much that I just wanted to be in the ensemble of any show, that I never ever worked hard enough to be a lead. I just, was like, I'm really good and I'll just be in your show, like not understanding how hard other people work. And it wasn't until like actually really having kids that kind of your perspective for me changed a lot. And I started teaching a lot. And I teach a program here in Nevada for the Smith Center, which is Camp Broadway, which they do in New York as well. But we get kids that come in and they do a week-long camp. And, my favorite thing to tell them is like, I have never been on Broadway and I still want to. It's still a dream. So you can be older and still have goals. And that's kind of a really nice, like, reminder that it doesn't, just because I'm this age doesn't mean I haven't succeeded. And that other idea that like, as if there's some watermark we hit, right? As if like, okay, now it's done and I can move on to what is the next thing? There's like a point of arrival for a day, right? But the next day is, here we are. So
hey,
I've
never been on Broadway. I've been on off Broadway, but I've never been on Broadway either. And, but you're right. There is no mark. There's no destination. I always say, I'm like, my life is a journey. There's like, because once you hit the destination, it's over. I don't want it to be over just yet. Give me some more time to make some mistakes, have some fun, laugh, and just see what this life is about,
Yeah. And you watch as I'm watching even right now, there's obviously so much happening, but you know, a lot of it is we're watching things happen in real time, right? So we have to be cognizant of that, you know, at first it's masks, you know, we don't really need masks. And now at this point, we're like, oh no, masks are actually what's going to help us all be able to kind of have some semblance of normalcy. And that's just because we're watching things happen in real time. So if you let your life happen in real time without trying to, you know, of course have goals, of course you want to get to a certain place, but what does that mean? And what happens after that, you know? And then also what's today?
Yes.
You know, because none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. Meow, meow, meow.
No, but it's so true. And that's my theory on a lot of things in life. I'm like, I want to plan for the future. I want to be responsible, make sure that's all taken care of. But I, as a person, I have to live in the now. That's how I have to do it. Some people, you know, and it drives certain people that I've dated crazy because they're like, what do you mean? Like, you're not thinking. I'm like, I'm not thinking about the next 2 years. I'm thinking about, you know, the next 2 hours, the next 2 months. Like, maybe that's max for me, because in this business, everything is ever changing. So we've very much learned to ride the ride, and sometimes that doesn't make sense for people that aren't in the business.
I know. Being an artist is all encompassing, and it means that, you know, your artwork is ever changing. And so, you know, you're painting with one brush one day and pen another.
Well, speaking of ever changing though, you have two exciting new things going on. Well, one of them has been around, but
Yeah.
you have to hustle.
I have a podcast I've been working on with my girlfriend Chelsea, The Side Hustle, which maybe we can talk about interviewing you at some point, which would be really nice. That basically came out of it. We started the idea before all of this, and Chelsea is in Magic Mike in Las Vegas. She's like the host of Magic Mike Live.
Oh my God. First of all, I follow her on Instagram. Love her so much. She doesn't even know it. Big fan.
Well, I'll let her know. Yeah, she's amazing. We became friends out here, kind of auditioning and then doing some things together. And I'm a big fan of hers and just love her. And we were talking one day about, you know, oh my God, all of these side gigs that you do while you're trying to like get the big gigs, and what that looks like. And some days we're just like, how much did, you know, like doing a convention gig where I'm doing the YMCA, but not to the YMCA theme song. It's just slightly different because it's for some pharmaceutical company. And then you're like, who did I sell my soul to get to where I am right now? You know, you just like,
I've had a lot of those experiences. Yep.
Yeah. We're just like, we're all rich with these ridiculous things. So we started this, and we haven't like launched it because I think what we're going to do is do like a online show. So more info to come, but be on the lookout for that. And then I have a comedy group that has been around for a while called the Apple Sisters. And we are really excited to try our hand at this new medium, which is we're going to do our Halloween show online through Dynasty Typewriter Theater. And we're all going to be doing it from our homes. So we will see what that looks like. It's Saturday. I think it's the 24th of October. Let me just make sure that I'm getting that right. Saturday the 24th of October, 6 p.m. Pacific, and then 9 p.m. Eastern, which will be fun because friends in New York haven't seen us in a while, and they will get to tune in.
Oh, I'm going to be tuning in because I was just over on your Spotify listening to the Apple Sisters, dying laughing.
Good.
I love pudding. I mean, I'm not kidding. Amy and I did an episode the other day for this podcast where we talked about my strange love of pistachio pudding. I went to my fridge. Amy loves her ice cream. We all know this. And she was like, well, are you going to have a snack? And I was like, my dad just made Jell-O pistachio pudding. And I opened the fridge and there was one left and it was staring at me like Jesus sent it down himself. And I was like, oh, I need it. And I was like, can I have the last one? And Amy's like, you're not going to eat that. And I was like, oh, I am. I was like, pistachio pudding is so. When I heard the song "Pudding" over on your guys' playlist, I was a very happy camper.
Thanks. Yeah. And that actually came out of literally a girlfriend of mine when we were kids. I mean, kids, like 13. She told me, like, if you want to practice kissing, you can practice on pudding. And I was like, okay. Like, she was the girl to like go to for all those pro tips, secrets, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we started that years ago in New York, and a lot of our songs just come out of like absolutely ridiculous things that were happening. We have a song called Pink Wine, and we were at a comedy festival, and Rebecca and I were getting ready to go to sleep, and Kimmy came in our room with, you know, those like little hotel glasses, and it had like a rosé in it or something. We're like, Kimmy, what? It's like forever. What are you doing? She's like, I'm just drinking some pink wine. Everything's fine. This is pink wine. And so then we just wrote a song about.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You guys seem like you have so much fun.
We really do. I've never laughed as hard as I have with those girls. It's a lot of fun.
So,
oh my God, the gardeners are here.
oh my God. Well, I'm gonna let you get to the gardeners. But thank you so much for your time, and good luck with the homeschooling. You got this, Sarah Lowe.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a real treat, and I'm such a fan. Thank you so much for your time and meeting with me. And my family is a fan. We love watching you, and I'm really honored to be with you today. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, please give them all my love, and I'm gonna go have some pudding in your honor.
Yay! I love it. Bye. Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you. God, she's so sweet. Oh my God, my cheeks are hurting. You guys see it? Like, I am smiling so much, my cheeks hurt. She's so sweet. Thank you, Sarah. Everybody, please go check out the Apple Sisters on Spotify. I was just doing it before the show, and I was laughing as I was gluing my eyelashes on. I know. I mean, people are like, what? You're wearing lashes? Yes, yes, I am. It's crazy, I know, but I'm sharing all these secrets to you because why not? It's my show, and you've all seen me without makeup. Anyway, but yeah, I was over there listening to the Apple Sisters, dying laughing, and then again, I loved the Dick in the Box video. Sarah Lowe, thank you so much. Your talent and your stories are just immeasurable, and I adore you. So thank you, and I'll see you guys later.